Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general looking for the lesson reading for the sign of Cancer, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of December. I hope you are well. I'm using the Llewellyn Tarot for you today. Now, I did these readings solidly for 2 years and then I kind of mothballed them this summer because I needed to pull a little bit more time back for me. But I've decided I'm going to bring them back for December as a little December Christmas present for you, if you will. And so from this Friday and every Friday through to Christmas Eve, I'll be releasing 3 by element. So it's water signs, obviously. Pull my blanket up. So I've got a bit of housekeeping. I have done 6-month overviews for each of the signs. If you would like to see those, they run from January to June 2023. There's a link in the description box that will take you to Vimeo and you can see them there. Alternatively, you can come join my private community, the Order of the Phoenix, over at Circle. There's lots of cool things going on over there and all of the extended content is there too, so that's cool. Now, to explain these readings, it goes like this. I feel like there is wisdom or a lesson contained in every experience and interaction that we have, and unfortunately too often we are too mired up in the drama or the drudge of the 3D to notice what is trying to be shown to us at this time. So this is, if you will, an exercise in perspective. It's about taking your gaze from wherever it happens to be and lifting it so that you can see where this energy is trying to take you. So what we will do is we will pull 3 cards for your current energy and we will see where you are right now. What is going on with you? How are you feeling about it? You know, that kind of thing there. And then we will take 3 cards to see why you are in that energy in the first place. What is it trying to show you? Is it trying to show you what needs to be ended in your life? What needs to be embraced in your life? Is it just trying to show you something about the way that you work or the people around you? We won't know until the cards hit the table. But I've found in the past, I've used this personally a lot for years, that it helps me know, it helps me move through things that can be quite challenging if I know vaguely where it is I'm supposed to be going, right? What this experience is trying to teach me. And so this is why I started doing it on the channel, because I wanted to help other people do the same. From there, we will close out with 3 cards of advice. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, I'm sure it will by the time the cards hit the table. Like I said, it's an exercise in perspective. It's a way of looking differently at the situation that you're in, or even just bringing a state of awareness to the situation that you're in, because sometimes we do things on autopilot and we miss stuff. So let's see what's going on with you, Cancer. Can I have 3 cards for Cancer, please? There's the first one. We have the 6 of Cups. We have the Hierophant. Interesting. And we have the Judgment card. I might just flip that around so you can see what I'm looking at there. Don't know why my computer's just started beeping every time I flip the camera around. It's very annoying. So we can see from these 2 cards here, and in fact even latterly that card as well, right? The one thing that these 3 cards have in common is some sort of way, some sort of aspect in which they touch the past, right? The 6 of Cups is the card of the past, right? And that can be childhood. It tends to be a more distant past than just what happened last week. It's something that's, really deep in the memory banks there sometimes, and it's something that we tend to feel a little bit nostalgic about sometimes, some aspect of it. But it can also be past life stuff as well, right? It's just very firmly past, not now. And then the Hierophant has this sense of being the point where past and future collide, because it's about heritage and legacy, right? It's what the Hierophant has learned. This always looks like a shaman to me, actually. What they have either been born through with some sort of genetic inheritance, or what it is that they have learned, what they have been taught, and what they then teach in response to that, right? So heritage and legacy coming out in front of them. And then we have the Judgment card, which talks about things coming up for judgment. It can sometimes mean a second chance at things, a second pass at stuff. What it's saying to me here is that there is there's a processing energy about where you are at the moment, and it's very much in relation to how you fit in with your community, your family, your friends. You know, the Ten of Cups for me is all about the multitude. Okay? The nines are about us as individuals. The tens are often about the multitude. Certainly the Ten of Cups is. It could be at the moment that you're finding yourself thinking very hard about your past, possibly about your childhood, and the lessons that you were taught. Yeah? What it is that you took in as a child, and what it is that you've been letting out in return, right? And why it could be something that's been disempowering to you for the longest time. I feel like it's equally looking for the obstacles as they exist, but also looking for the things that you can really lean into in terms of what was good. I think when we do any kind of origin work, and I feel like this is what you're engaged with here at the moment, there is a tendency and fairly a necessity to kind of look at the negative stuff, right? We have to own that. We have to see where we have subconsciously taken lots of things in and then subconsciously be in a state of letting them back out again. But there are also valuable things that are learned at the same time. I mean, sometimes the value is in seeing what the negative lesson was. I always said that, you know, one of the reasons why I'm the kind of parent that I am with my children is because I did the exact opposite of whatever my mum did in any kind of corresponding sort of situation when I was a child. That was incredibly valuable to me. So thanks, Mum. She should not be watching this, but, you know, thanks anyway. But I'm kind of at a point now where I can discern between the two, and that's what the Judgment card is here. Right? It's not relentlessly looking for the positive, but it is being very discerning about the information as it's coming in. It's about exercising your judgment. So although I don't think it's necessarily the best place for you to be all the time, to be sitting thinking over the past and picking over the past and looking at what you've inherited and what you've let out, what you've been taught and what you are teaching other people by way of your behaviour and whatnot, the way that you show up in friendships, relationships, you know, at work even, you know, within your family, all of those sorts of things. I think it's a good place for you to be right here, because it feels like it's something that gives you an incredible degree of power, right? It's the option to choose. And that's why it's so important to bring this into your conscious mind, so that this is not something that is happening reflexively, but it's something that is actually accompanied by conscious thought. My first instinct is to react like this, but I'm going to stop, I'm going to wait just a second, I'm going to employ my discernment, I'm going to think about this, I'm going to really exercise my judgment over it. I think the right thing to do is actually this thing instead. That's really good, Cancer. That's top marks for that sort of shit. That's really, really good. So, although I feel like we've already answered the question, let's have a look and see why you are in this energy at this time, right now. We have the Seven of Swords. We have the Chariot. Do you know what? I am going to let that go in the reverse. And we've got the Ace of Wands. Yeah, that makes perfect sense then. Oh, look, and there you are at the bottom of the deck. It is the Moon, which is for me the card of Cancer, but it is also a card that talks about excavating into those really deep, dark bits of your psyche. The reason why you are in this energy at the moment is, I do feel, so it's twofold. It is both working out where you're allowing obstacles to occur in front of you, right? The Chariot card is all about setting a goal and being determined enough to see it through, right? To a state of victory. That's what that card talks about, right? So we have that. And often, and particularly in the Llewellyn, there's the emotional aspect of that is really, really important. But then you're a water sign, so emotional aspects of things are really, really important, full stop, right? Where is your thinking Where is your patterning? Where is your programming? Where is your conditioning stopping you from either setting goals that you feel that you can hit, or where is it stopping you from believing that you can hit the goals that you set for yourself? You know, these kind of energies are what we've got going on here. But because it's a card of Cancer as well, and look, we've got both of the major arcana cards that for me talk about Cancer. We're talking about identity on a really profound level. And it might well be that currently what you're engaged in is what is really me? What is me, and what has been put there by other people? What was projected onto me, and what did I internalize, and is that true? And this is so fucking important for you showing up, because what you want more than anything else, it seems to me, is authenticity and the power that comes in standing in your own authenticity. But there's also a corresponding boundary that seems to be drawn between you and inauthentic people. But in the best tradition of shadow work, and that's another thing that the Chariot card represents for me, you are looking for the answers within yourself first. What we've not got is a judgmental attitude. What we've not got is a blaming attitude. What we've got is, okay, so how am I doing these things? And how do I eradicate it? Because when you're standing in your authenticity, it is very, very easy to see people who are not. And I think that this discerning feeling that I've got, that is increasing in you, is the ability to be able to see that clearly and choose to walk away from it. This is where the power is coming in. So we've joked before about how Cancer quite often doesn't see the red flags. They see red bunting and they go, oh, that's really, really pretty, and then they skip happily down the road, you know. That's been true in the past, but I think that you're now at a place where that is not acceptable to you moving forwards, right? So the implication of that is that you're taking a great deal of responsibility for you and the way that you show up, what you will tolerate and what you will not. And this is why this is so powerful. Now, that Seven of Swords there, I feel, is also twofold, because it's asking, you know, where the energy that you're in at the moment is having you examine where it is that you have pulled the wool over your own eyes with things and why that has happened. But it also talks about taking a risk. And I think that some of the things that you're setting yourself up to do in 2023, you would not have dreamed of doing just 6 months ago. But the landscape is changing for you, because this authenticity, autonomy, discernment, you know, all of these things are coming to create a different kind of ground, for a different kind of seed to be planted for you. And you've got the Ace of Wands. There's your seed. Like, the way that you act, the way that you behave, the way that you live, the way that you experience life, I think you're done with having it be the way that it has been up until this point, and now it's time for change. It's not quite time for change yet, but certainly the ground is getting ready for you to plant the seed of change, and that is magnificent, Cancer. I cannot tell you how impressed I am with that. That is brilliant. This is top-class spiritual work. So let's get some cards of advice, although you do seem to have it largely in hand, to be honest. We have the Six of Swords. We have the Five of Wands. Whoa. And we have the Two of Wands as well. Now, I like that Two of Wands being there. There's the High Priestess at the bottom of the deck. Pisces energy. But it's talking about working with what it is that you know. It's about that stillness that comes when the emotions aren't making, you know, aren't so loud that it's just creating this huge fucking white noise between you and your intuition. It's talking about you really leaning into your strength. You know, I think all water signs, I think for the longest time, have felt like their emotions have been their kryptonite. It's the thing that stops them from being powerful. It's the thing that stops them from, you know, being able to do X, Y, and Z. And the thing is with that, Cancer, is that that's what you were told. You were told you were too sensitive. You were told you were overreacting. You were told X, Y, and Z. What nobody noticed was what you needed was a fucking hug. What you needed was to be told that this wasn't your fault. What you needed to be told was that your emotions were valid, and that has never happened. So now you're doing it for yourself. And in doing that, what you're doing is creating this really solid link between you and your higher self, your higher wisdom. It's actually your superpower. It was never your kryptonite. You've just been surrounded by the wrong people who showed you how to deal with it in the wrong way. So the Six of Swords here, speaking of movement as it does, is having you leave behind what I think is, the Five of Swords for me talks about cognitive loops. It talks about mental conditioning and the programming that we go through. This seems to me what you're sorting out at the moment, definitely sifting through all of this stuff. And what is useful will go in the boat. What is not useful will be left wherever you're moving away from here. The Five of Wands is interesting because it does speak to conflict, external or internal. I feel like it's possibly internal for you, and the advice would be to lean into what makes you feel conflicted. If there's something that brings up that sense of conflict in you, that is something that is worth engaging with, because there is wisdom in there for you with that. So whether it's down to even just that, right? So for example, just random example that I'm just pulling off the top of my head here, just what I said there a minute ago about your emotions being your superpower rather than your kryptonite. Now, if you had a response to that where you're like, don't think so, or whether that made you feel tight, whether you had some sort of somatic response to it or an immediate mental dismissal of that, sit with that and consider how different things could be if you changed the narrative around that. If you saw this as a superpower rather than some sort of disablement, something that disempowers you. If this is where your power lies and you reject that, and rejection is always an interesting thing to come up for Cancers anyway, you reject that, then you're cutting yourself off at the knees. Is it any wonder that you would feel disempowered, right? That's just an example. But anything that makes you go, and then immediately reject it, bring it back straight away and talk to it, engage with it, interrogate it almost, see where it comes from, see if it's useful, and then fuck it off if it's not. The reason that I like the Two of Wands is because I say that the aces are seeds. All of them are seeds. But if you take a seed and you leave it, I don't know, alright, you chuck it in a pond, it's not going to grow. It's not the right environment for it to grow. Just because the seed is there and just because the potential is contained within the seed, it doesn't mean that it's just going to sprout on its own. It needs a certain set of conditions to be right before that process happens. You are in the process of creating those ideal conditions. So to go from the ace to the two is taking the seed and putting it in the right conditions. This is crossroads energy here. But if you don't believe that there's a possibility for you to change direction and go somewhere else, then you won't ever engage with the seed, with the potential of doing things different. You'll just carry on your merry way doing the same thing that you've always done. This doesn't seem to me to be where you want to be anymore. You want to live differently. So we have the ace, and then we have you plucking it and going, how can this be different? And it's not about what's outside of you, here, there and everywhere, not at this point. It's about what is inside of you, and you've got that fucking message and loud and clear, and you're doing your thing. I love this, Cancer. This is absolutely extraordinary. Fucking top marks. This is good shit, and it's setting you up very, very well for 2023. So I'm going to leave it there. Don't forget about the 6-month overviews. The link is in the description box. Also, if you fancy it, come check out the community. That's cool too. But other than that, I bid you all well. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you soon.